Mason,
Yes, sir.
you want to hear a story?
Let's hear it.
So I don't think I've told this on here before. If I have, then whatever. Audience gets a refresher. But we were working at this house, and the people were in their early 30s, probably, maybe late 20s. It was in the Arcadia area. Decent house. They're doing a
So
full...
my age.
Yep.
Okay.
Probably right around your age, maybe a little younger, but I don't know. I'm terrible with ages. Anyways, doesn't matter. Married couple, they're remodeling quite a bit of their house. And the son, or the husband, I should say, is the son of some interior designer who is well known in some circles. So good for him, good for her. But the problem was that they're trying to do this remodel with mommy's ideas on a 30-year-old couple's money. So I'm not sure what they make, so I'm not trying to take too many shots there, but you could also tell, like, from some of the things, how they reacted, you could kind of tell that they weren't balling out of control like some of the people that Joe and I talk about,
Yeah.
right? So we're working there, and we have these things called paint pens. So people, if you're into art or stuff like that, you'll know about paint pens. It's got the felt tip. It's different than a Sharpie. It's an oil-based paint. Helps us a lot with hiding any touch-ups, little nicks, stuff like that. So I'm outside. We've got some metal, doing some touch-ups. Had some screw heads that we're coloring in, getting that all done. Well, I made the stupid mistake, which should have known better, but whatever. I pulled the cap off of it without having the cap facing down. So there was some paint drops in the cap of the pen that fall on their pavers that they had set within like a couple weeks or whatever. Gets on there. Pavers are super porous, soaks it up. I try to clean it up, but it hits those pavers. It's done. So I go inside. I tell the gentleman, hey, just want to let you know, here's what happened. It got on like 2 or 3 pavers. I think it was only 2. I was like, we're going to take care of it. Don't worry about it. And it's right up against the house where I was working near the window. I was like, but I didn't think anything of it. Let him know. I go back to work. She was on the phone working from home. So I go back to my thing. I see her get up after her husband talks to her. She comes over the window. She's looking out, like frantically looking for these spots on her pavers. Comes out and she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. These pavers were $5,000. Now we're going to have the whole thing taken up to get these pavers out and redone. You guys have been such terrible people to work with. And throws her temper tantrum, goes back inside. I'm like, all right. Husband comes out. He's like, hey, sorry about that. I'm like, yeah, just like I said, like we're going to get these taken care of. Don't worry about it. He's like, yeah, I know. It's just been really stressful. And then he's like, this was $5,000 worth of pavers, as he's pointing to his kind of patio pavers that were put in. And he's like, so to get them taken up to here and put back, it's probably going to be like $4,000. I'm like, I'm going to level with you real quick. I used to have a job doing remodels, and one of my jobs was raising pavers. The way that we did that was you find the pavers that are sunken in, you break out 1 or 2 of them, pull them out, put some sand down, put the pavers back, and you're all done. So I was like, looking at this right here, we're going to break out up to max 4 pavers. I've got a bag of sand that needs to go in here. And I was like, did these pavers come? I said this to him. Did these pavers come on a boat over from Italy? He's like, no. And I'm like, all right, then top of the market right now, we're talking $10 a paver, which is stupid money per paver, right?
Yeah.
Like astronomical. But so I was like, what we're looking at is then $40 and then $5 for my bag of sand. Get that all done, and we're good.
That they're not going to pay for.
Yeah, which we would pay for.
Yeah.
Which if I needed to, it's $50 tops. Which in reality, it's 50 cents a paver. $5 for a bag of sand. I'm looking at like $10 and a freaking hammer that I have with me already. I'm like, he had extra pavers on the side of his house too, so I'm like, their paver guy ended up doing it, and there was no charge to our company. But in the end, it was just one of those ridiculous things where these people are freaking out, thinking we got to take up all our pavers because of this, and it's like, dude, calm down. We're gonna pull some pavers out real quick and put them right back. You're never gonna know what happened. There's no need to.
Do they have a lot of pavers?
Not like anything.
Because like $5,000 for a lot of pavers like that doesn't sound expensive.
This is why we go back to.
Was it
mommy's ideas with the kids' budget?
Mm-hmm.
So $5,000 to them is a lot of money.
Oh, landscaping! I got a quote to get our front yard done.
Yeah, for the new build.
Yeah, $10,000. It's a lot.
They'd probably freak out.
That's a lot. I mean, granted, we did extend because we have a paver driveway, and we extended it to make it go all the way, like round it off all the way to the back and like halfway through the backyard. And then put some steps up. So it's quite a few extra pavers, and some artificial grass. That probably cost about $3,000.
Yeah, I think the artificial grass guys.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, that was an annoying project. Because I don't know.
I'll pay you 1 cent a paver to lay them.
Yeah, no thank you. I'm not proficient in pavers, so I'm going to hard pass on that.
Oh. Well, so how much was it? How much was the overall rebuild that you did? How much did they drop?
I don't even know. They spent several $1,000s on the windows. I know that. But
like it wasn't like it was just wasn't a crazy amount of upgrades.
I think they put in a beam to carry a structural wall to put in a bunch of windows, and they had 2 operable doors at the end, so it wasn't even like a multi-slide or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like drywall coating throughout, but there was stuff that you could kind of tell was like, I think with the crown molding, you could tell like had a hard stop at a certain point, stuff like that. There were certain details, like if you know what to look for, you're looking at it going, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense.
Is crown molding hard to put up?
It's harder than baseboard.
Just because you gotta line it up?
That and the angles change a little bit.
Oh yeah, because it comes across the wall.
Yeah, well,
and you gotta nail top and bottom sides.
Yeah, but so
I was thinking about taking a stab at it, just in my bedroom because it's square.
Yeah,
but I hate cutting the corners with that shit. So precise.
Yeah. There's a.
Well, that lady sounded like a bitch.
Yeah. So
I'll say it for you.
I don't know. I've not interacted with her in over 4 years, so if you listen to the show, thanks for listening. Pain in my ass back then. And if you're ready to remodel your house, call someone else.
Yeah. I hope you find a different house, though.
It was a nice spot.
Yeah, Arcadia's nice. My dad did a flip over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not my... I mean, it's a nice spot. Not my cup of tea, but...
Yeah. Arcadia's really gotten... They've got a lot of remodels going on in that area, just being so close to Paradise Valley, and with so many people wanting to be in that area. It's a good spot to be fixing some stuff up, especially if you're doing it
That's a
correctly.
lot of people. There's a zombie apocalypse. It's not good.
Well, Paradise Valley, you got to think per acre, fewer people though.
I guess.
You got
Still a lot of people.
2 old people per acre lot.
They're dead. Zombies.
Yep.
A lot of zombies over there.
Yeah, but just think about it. Like
hot zone right there. You won't stay
but
out of there.
if you go into like Central Phoenix, how many houses do you got on?
Yeah, but that's close enough to Paradise Valley.
That's true. Whatever.
It's a hotbed for zombies, dude.
Is that what we're all worried about?
Mm-hmm.
Is that why we have your...
Do you watch zombie shows?
No, because...
You don't?
Well...
Are you scared of them?
No, So my brother started watching The Walking Dead.
You don't like how they handle it?
No, just my brother started watching The Walking Dead. Good show. I started watching it with him. This is years ago.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. I started getting very, very paranoid. Like, all the time. I'd start running through apocalypse scenarios in my brain. Like, I'd start, like how the hairs in the back of your neck start standing up. Like, I felt like something was coming up behind me at different times. Like, so I had to stop. And then all that went away. Well, a couple years go by, and then I've got some friends who they were watching their way through the new season of The Walking Dead. And I was like, all right, whatever. So I was going over to their house to watch like the new season with them. And sure enough, the paranoia kicked right back in. But so I don't know what it is. But I love like Zombieland, complete comedy, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Hilarious. I've seen World War Z.
There's that new one on HBO, too.
The Last of Us.
Yeah, that's good. I like it.
I
like it because it's more like all the zombie shows are like, excuse me, that was just my stomach too. What happens while it's going on. But that show's like after they've like not contained it, but like they've killed most of the people, and there's a bunch of different places all over the country where people are learning how to survive afterwards. So it's kind of cool.
Have you seen the videos of bugs that'll actually be taken over by like the zombie fungus?
Mm-mm.
Dude, all right, let me see.
That's the other thing, is like it's coming from a fungus, so it's. Oh, did you see it? Damn it! I saw. You can't trust anything on like social media, but the Instagram posted something about scientists like unfroze or something like that from years ago, like a potential zombie virus, to see if it was still alive, and it was. I don't know. It's Instagram. I don't even know if half that shit is true, but
if it is,
if they did, why?
Them.
First of all, why'd you freeze it?
All right, I don't know if this is gonna start playing audio on here. This is one of them. Oh, I said screen here. Whatever. How do I move this? Technical difficulties. Give me a second. And then for anyone who's just listening, you'll have to go look up on YouTube. Incredible, crazy, unbelievable, real zombie insect walking. So this was bouncing around on Instagram for a while, but it's completely like eaten out, but the fungus is still controlling its brain. Shut up, YouTube. We don't want to hear you.
What kind of bug is that?
Let's see.
See, well, they're going to take that and turn it into something.
So I heard someone saying that the reason why this fungus can work on the insects is because, and I don't know if this is something just with the show or what, but the body temperature has to get low enough to where that the fungus could actually like get in there, because I think like
So dead people.
I think it needs a live host to really do anything.
Yeah, but what if the host is live and then it's live inside of you, but then when you die, it takes off? So what if we're all just carrying it, and then like one day, just as people die off?
Then we're gonna need to grab.
But then it's
a Sig Sauer. Was that the P
S365 XL?
Yep.
Yeah.
With our extra mags and our
but there's
self-defense
it's not going to be an apocalypse, because somebody turns into a zombie and bites somebody. Now they just have it, but the host isn't live yet until they die.
That's true. Also, what are the zombies doing?
Yeah.
Are they're just trying to infect everyone?
Yeah, but yeah, see, like
because.
But like, what if it's like a sex fungus? Like, what if zombies don't try to kill you; they just try to fuck you? Like, why does the zombie fungus make you want to kill them? You know what I'm saying? Like, or what if it's a tickle one? It just tries to tickle you. Very annoying. Although my kids started watching the show. They've already had it, but I think it's on Netflix or for Disney Plus. It's called Zombies, where like there's a zombie apocalypse, but then like they found a way to crave their wanting to eat brains, so they live in a separate town and they commingle. And then now there's werewolves in it. I don't know.
It's on Disney.
Yeah, it's a musical. It's for kids. They have some bangers though. We played in the car.
Really?
Yeah. You want me to play you one?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna play you one.
All right, full on dad moment here, I guess. There's this movie. It's Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. There's so we had to read Pride and Prejudice in high school, and I actually enjoyed the book. So me and a couple of my friends were going through like this phase of like, let's just watch stupid movies. So it was like Zoolander 2, and I forget.
Have you ever watched Gummo?
No.
Oh, watch it.
But like we watched Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and it was like crazy seeing how much they actually followed the story and of Pride and Prejudice, but kind of set more the political climate rather than getting married for what is the like the not the inheritance, but for like social safety.
Mm-hmm.
It turns into more of like the zombie apocalypse.
So weird.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, it's called Gummo or Gumo.
Yeah.
Weirdest show. Doesn't make any sense.
Is it an adult show or kids show? Is this on Disney?
No,
or
it's rated R. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's weird. It doesn't make sense, but you should watch it.
Okay. We're not going to get pulled off of YouTube for this, are we?
Baby. They got some songs out there that have some sick beats. Wasted it on the lyrics, but
Hey, it's for kids though, right?
yeah, it is for kids.
Alright. We talked about this a little bit before we got started. There's this bank closure that is all the rage in the news right now. And I was like, hey, did you hear about this? And then didn't think that it was going to affect us at all until you said it directly affects your business.
Well, it's just a lead source. I don't know how it affects it. They're just switching banks.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Which for them, they could have gotten...
It depends on how much money they have in there.
Oh,
Doesn't
yeah.
mean they have money. It's just...
Well, the thing
But
too...
they're buying... They're not gonna... What do they call it? Apparently, there's some like fund for this because it's a regional bank. It's not like, like GM and stuff, and the government stepped in. Like, hopefully, we're not gonna have to print money. Apparently, there's this side pot thing that they have for this that's gonna be able to cover it.
Kind of.
So once they foreclose, sell all the buildings. Biden tells us that we're gonna have to spend any money because it's in a fund already. The money's there.
Basically, they're trying to avoid saying bailout. Essentially, it's almost a bailout.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. From what it says, it's there for these reasons. But we'll probably just print some more money.
Eventually, yeah. I mean, we're sending billions overseas for numerous reasons, so whatever. But
yeah, it was just COVID. Flags.
Yep.
It's just
that one's not as bad anymore.
It's just a reason for them to send money to their buddies and get agendas passed.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. I guess we're just going all in on... Oh, what was I thinking about today? Oh, yeah.
I went to buy a gun today, and I was able to pick non-binary as my sex.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Which I thought was, especially to buy a gun.
Yeah. They're usually not about that.
Yeah. Although they did have a sign on the door that says, no masks. Due to health safeties, we do not want anybody... It's just a sign on their door.
Was that when you're filling out the FBI background check?
Mm-hmm.
Which I wonder if it's because it's FBI and they've got to be the federal bureau of
and I
bullshit.
bet you if I put binary, I wonder if they would just like say, oh, sorry, you didn't pass the background check.
Or at least put a hold on it.
Oh, it took like 20 minutes. I was worried. I was like, there's something? Did I do something wrong back in the day?
Yeah. No.
I have quite a few nights I don't remember. But yeah, so one of our lead sources, banks with the SPV or SVP bank. And I guess apparently you can get paid through the bank. Once you close, you send everything to the bank and it automatically deposits. We don't do that old school. We like to get our checks. We don't trust those things. And this is why.
Well, that, and then one of the things I was listening to today was talking about how all the companies that were banking with them, because this happened last week, you're heading towards the weekend, all the companies, that had money in the account that wanted to run payroll through them, that's all gone. So for them,
I don't know if it's all gone or if it's just like because they don't have the money to cover everything that they just had to stop everything. Like they have money in there, but not enough to cover it all and to pay people back their money. So I don't think it's that, because they do have money. I don't think
they had money, but not enough to cover it.
Yeah,
not
everybody
to cover everything.
exactly. So I think
bank, so all the money was
hold. Like they're not like the SVP bank is gone. Like they have to foreclose, sell the buildings and shit like that.
Yeah.
So unless, I mean, maybe that's their secret bailout.
Well, part of it too, I think other banks might step in to kind of buy them out at like pennies on the dollar at this point.
Oh, that's true too.
So I know that.
Why wouldn't you? Look at gain all that clientele.
Yeah, I was hearing that Jamie Dimond from Chase was talking to the people saying, hey, you need to be calling everyone that was at that bank to see if we can kind of pick them up and let them know, hey, we'll take care of whatever payroll needs that you guys have. Like, it seems that multiple companies stepped in to say, hey, we know that you guys are in an upside down situation, but we'll help you out and tide you over.
That's such a nice way to put it. They didn't do that for the people. They did that because of all the money they can generate from the new people that's putting money in there that they can invest in.
It's a business thing.
Yeah.
But like in the end, you also think about if you have a business of 100 employees and payroll's coming up.
Fuck.
Yeah. Some of those people, if your payroll is going over $1 million, then
oh yeah, come over to Chase. We'll waive whatever fee it is, and we'll process this shit tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll sort it all out later. Oh, dear God.
The gun fell. It's not loaded.
Yeah.
Because Thaddeus almost broke it, and I just got it today.
Yeah, I did. But we did learn how to pull it apart and put it back together. So good for us.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sledgehammers in the Office podcast, where we celebrate the heavy hitters on the job site and in the office. Today, I am joined by MasonOxendale. We got anything special we're drinking?
It's leftover. I need some caffeine. I mean, I'm not a believer in the amino acid supplements, but amino acid has an amino energy that has caffeine in it, which I do. I'm a big caffeine indulger. So, but there's none left. So it was the grape flavored.
And then Shamrock Farms chocolate milk, whole milk, because that's the best. Looking real quickly at our numbers, this is going to be for the greater Phoenix area. We hope this helps give you a snapshot of what we're looking at on a regular basis, seeing where a lot of the real estate market's at, as well as some of the building costs that we see in the area. Hopefully this is kind of a guideline if you're outside of the Phoenix area, but we want to give you guys a snapshot. So right now, active homes, we've got 11,066. That's down roughly 1,000 from a month ago. Closed is 5,434. That's in the last month. That is up around 1,600. Interest rate is at 6.57% as of recording. Hopefully we'll have this out basically by the morning. But that should be down roughly 0.5% from last week. 2x4s, plywood, and copper pipe are holding steady. 2x4s, $325, plywood, $1,280, copper pipe, $24.96, which I'm assuming those are kind of probably more not going to be as volatile as the interest rate. Those probably have a contract on it with the suppliers, but we'll keep tracking it. So,
and when Thaddeus says the greater Phoenix area, like, it's everything you think of Phoenix, like even like outskirts, Buckeye, Queen Creek and stuff. It's just those far random cities like Whitman. No, Whitman's probably in there, but Wickenburg.
Mm-hmm.
Over by Lake Pleasant. Those weird cities that nobody knows that Arizona has. What are some other ones? Bisbee?
Yep. I'm only just thinking of county names right now.
Yeah.
Like if you go Tucson, Flagstaff, stuff like
Yeah,
that. If
exactly.
you know the state,
Prescott Valley.
those aren't included. That would be a separate set of numbers that we're tracking. So,
Yeah.
and for us, for the most part, we're looking at the denser populated areas, and that includes all of this right here.
Yeah, so the cool people.
Yeah. Something I don't believe we talked about last week. We had it in our notes, but we were just cruising on all our topics. But median purchase price. We got the report from the journal that we follow, and the median purchase price for the greater Phoenix area was at $460,000. This is numbers for the month of January, and this is up $2,000 from the month before, which stopped our 7-month slide since May of last year. So I know that was something we were talking about last time we were going to this, as far as, hey, when does this stop?
Mm-hmm.
Stopped in January. We went up $2,000. So cumulative days on market were 78. Average interest rate was 6.3%. 27 out of 32 cities saw a price drop from year over year. So January 22 to January 23, the majority of those cities saw a drop. What would that be? 7 out of 8 of them, roughly. And then 14 saw a price increase from December to January. So that's going to be what supported our $2,000 increase in that median purchase price.
Yeah, that's average too. So you're taking consideration the smaller homes and the multi-million-dollar homes too, which have different buyers, different days on the market, all that kind of stuff.
Which, and I think the important thing is that we can see, regardless, we've been tracking the same numbers,
Mm-hmm.
that
This gives you a general idea of where we're going.
Yep, and we saw in January things are.
And the Crawford report has our average days on the market's 39 now, so it's gone down significantly.
Which the days on the market for, is that going to be days on market from active to pending under contract? Because I think this cumulative days on market is probably going to be including listing, first listing until closed.
For 79, that seems awful short.
78.
I don't know.
Well, you'd have about.
I don't know how they
You'd
do
have 30
yours,
days on market, 30 days to close. You're looking at 60 some right there.
Mm-hmm.
Bump that a little bit more. You're at 78.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it's not taking that long to close out.
Which, when you do think about it, 80 days. So, but that's including all the days that you got it listed. Then you've got the 30 days. So.
Exactly too. I mean, and our active numbers are going down. So, I mean, 12 to 15,000 is kind of a neutral market, and we're in the 11,000 now. So it's trending back towards a seller's market. I mean, there's buyers out there. People are buying homes. Look how many homes are closed every month. Over 5,000.
And that's up 1,600 from a month before.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, people are just making the decisions, invest your money to buy a home or throw away money for rent.
Yeah, which I think that we were looking at a stat on that right before we started the podcast in regards to, was it the net worth for people who own the home versus people who...
Oh, yeah, in the
renting?
U.S., the people who own a home, their average net worth is $225,000. So,
compared to...
Yeah, and, net worth is minus all your... what's the word I'm looking for?
It's all your assets minus your debts.
There we go. That's what it is. And renters is $6,300. Quite a big difference.
Yeah.
Because also, I mean, you're just throwing 100% of your money is thrown away for rent. Now, don't get me wrong. There are circumstances, like we talk about all the time, different scenarios that people have where you have to rent, homeless or rent, kind of thing. But you can't rent forever. You got to have a game plan on what you want to do.
Which, and I think that's the big thing to what you said right there, as far as it's long term. Like, I'm going to be renting a place here soon. So is it like, oh, hey, like, that is, you're a complete freaking idiot. It's like, no, based on the financial situation that I'm looking at with my fiance right now, it's like, we got to rent for a little while, but during that time, we're saving money to get into a house. It's the people who are perpetual renters.
And spending every single money that they make.
Yep.
They pay the bills, spend the money.
Because we do know that traditionally people will spend the bulk of their money, not have a ton in savings. But if you continue to pay your monthly mortgage, push that out over 10 to 30 years, it's then you're going to be well on your way to owning the majority or owning a house completely as long as you don't refinance. So even if things go sideways, you have an asset that you could sell at the end of the day that is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on what it is.
Yeah, and it appreciates more than it depreciates. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, like the housing crash 2007, 2008 would take that was one of the biggest crashes too, and it took about 10, 11 years for those values of homes to come back. So if people just didn't overreact or anything like that and just sat on their homes, they got their value back. And especially if they sat on it and waited until 2020, they made a fuckload of money if they sold it.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, you're making an investment. So if it goes down, you're going to play the roller coaster just like the stock market.
We're talking about peak to peak too,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Because it's not that someone who, like, we take my parents, who they bought in 98, they bought for $75,000. So whatever it was at the peak in 2008, probably around 200 some thousand or whatever. But it's like, okay, you were there, but when it crashed, you didn't go to zero. You didn't lose everything. So if you refinanced at the wrong time, sure, you're upside down on your house.
For a moment of time. You're not there the rest of your life.
Right. So it would only really be catastrophic for the people who refinanced and were planning on using that in the next 5 years to sell it for their end of life plan or whatever like that.
Oh, yeah.
I've got this. I had an interaction with,
and you don't do like you don't. That's not buying a house isn't a short term investment. You don't buy a house to make money and sell it in 5 years. Investors do that, but guess what? They've got renters in there paying their mortgage.
Right.
So if it doesn't gain any value, they didn't waste any money on it.
Yep.
So
I had this lady I interacted with that kind of shaped some of my thoughts in regards to the homeownership and how to view it in regards to being an asset.
Because not all people view it as an asset.
Right, and it made me definitely think of it as an asset. It was a sad story where she was in her mid to late 50s. Her husband had passed away within the last year, and she had like $10,000.
Yeah.
Her husband was the breadwinner for the family, so she was going back to work, but basically she's starting from zero in her mid to late 50s. So one of the things that I really thought of was between that and then a conversation I had with a different client in regards to, I want to be able to buy a house and then live in it as my primary residence, and if things go well, be able to make like 70 grand on it like some of these other people. And it's like, that's not how you should look at your primary residence. You should look at your primary residence as, this is my shelter. This is to protect me from the elements. This is where I lay down at night and I'm safe. But long-term as well, the way I do look at it as an asset is saying that, especially for someone like if you're married or whatever, that you're not really looking to cash that out unless, hopefully, like in my opinion, this is what I want to do. It's like, I don't want to cash that out unless it's going to be like for an inheritance, which I would never see because that's going to be for my kids. Or I want it to be that my wife can use whatever money from the sale of the house if I pass away, and she needs that money to basically carry her through as she's in the.
It's like a necessity, investment necessity. Like, why do you buy a car? Everybody knows it depreciates. Because this day and age, you fucking need it.
Yep.
You got to get to work. You got to do things. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need somewhere to live. I mean, you rent a house.
Yeah. But
you're just throwing away that money.
But even on top of that, like, if you were to buy a house and then refinance every 5 years, and it makes sense, but you're taking as much as you can out of the house so that you, in the end, you have no equity in the house because you're always pulling it out. Once you come to the end, like, let's say you're in your, like, 80s, if you don't have an asset that you can cash in for a lump sum of money, where it's like, if I'm in my 80s with my wife, I pass away and she needs a lump sum of money because her life expectancy on average is going to be just a couple more years. But if it's to take care of medical things or whatever, she could sell the house, rent for a couple of years, and take care of whatever she needs and be done.
Exactly.
But going back to that lady who was in her 50s, like, since they were renting their entire life, it goes back to that net worth thing.
Exactly.
They had several $1,000s. She had to pay for the funeral. She had all those other things, and it's a very sad situation.
Exactly. I mean, unless you have a crystal ball and you can keep refinancing every year and know when it's going to be a peak of the market and you can sell instead of... But nobody has that crystal ball.
No.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on that median purchase price?
No, I mean, yeah, for the people and like the general population that I work with, seems a little high. But then again, we're using these numbers as a snapshot to see where we're going.
Yep.
Like, I wouldn't use this number to look at and be like, what? It costs $460,000 to get inside of a house in Arizona? No, not true at all.
But going back to how we talked about before,
yeah, we're just tracking numbers.
The peak was 540, so we look at the slide being to 460. That's $80,000. But now to me, like, I'll be honest, I'm super up. Like, this makes me a lot happier inside, just knowing, okay, it was going down, and then it's like, okay, we hit a little bump in the road, so it's not just that we're falling off
And I also
cliff.
think those numbers were a little high too, because we never been through something like this, but like people were, hear about people are buying houses for 20 to 50 grand over asking price coming out of pocket and stuff, which raised the value obviously. But in the luxury market, they were offering, a minimum of 50 grand over asking price. You know what I'm saying? So like it was,
which the appreciation on Paradise Valley, I think was $1 million.
So I think those original numbers, because of what happened, were overly padded, and that's why it looked like the value of homes were dropping so crazy. Which, in reality, they weren't dropping that much.
Because I feel like when you did look at the city prices, a lot of the Paradise Valley still held steady.
Yeah, and I'm just talking about experience too. Like, I never had one appraisal issue over the past 6 months.
Yep.
And if it was declining that much that fast, we would have had a lot of appraisal issues. Which we're just now starting to kind of see. Not huge ones, maybe off by a couple $1,000s, which is easy to negotiate. But that's because now appraisers can only use 90 days back. So we're starting to see that ripple effect of the last 6 months of housing numbers dropping, or the value of them. Yeah, but not crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's been steady. So it's not like it fell off a cliff where we went from 540, held steady at 540, and then dropped 80,000. So it's been a gradual movement. And I think the market's responded appropriately to it. But at the same time, I think appraisers, they're looking in the rearview mirror compared to us looking at what's going on.
What it could sell for now.
In the month-over-month movement, right. Because if we were to say, hey, things are trending down, we list a little lower than possibly what the comps are, because we want to be able to move the client's house in the appropriate time frame that they're looking for.
Yeah, it all depends on what... Conditions. Yeah, exactly. It all depends on what if they're trying to maximize the value, we'll go back, we'll run it like an appraiser. And see if we can max it out.
But if the appraiser's looking at the last 90 days, 3 months ago, the median purchase price was $15,000 to $30,000 higher. So that's why I think we saw a lot of appraisals coming in like, hey, yeah, you're good to go. So I wonder, as far as, all right, when we're leveling out, like you said, we might see a lot more of these. Okay, we're fluctuating between a couple $1,000s over under, but
I wonder if it gets any higher than that.
Yeah, and I think we'll see, depending on what the market does. Like, do we start ticking back up? I heard
because May's summertime's the hot market.
Yep.
So
kids are out of school, time to move, get them in the new school right in time so that we don't screw anything up.
Yeah, so we'll see. But I mean, nothing's following trend right now. We're still recovering from the craziness. So who knows?
And there's huge question marks with what's going on with banks, what's going on with the stock market. So.
Yeah. Which, if those all fail, we're all fucked anyways. Who cares about real estate? At that point, we're trying to survive.
Then we're just going to be a entertainment podcast at that point.
And then all those people that don't know how to build anything or work with their hands are fucked.
Yeah.
Including myself. I know enough to make things 30 times worse, which is dangerous.
We'll hire you.
Don't say that out loud.
Why?
Because then they won't hire you. Be like, you got that Joe Schmo guy waiting for you?
Hey, my Joe Schmo's good. It's my Mason that I'm worried about.
Yeah. Fuck Joe. He's a little bitch.
No. Good dude. He helped me out this weekend with another job.
Yeah, I want to
Dude,
just
we
like
are
he's a
slammed
female
right now.
dog. He gets humped a lot. You're slammed?
Dude. Business is good right now. For like a lot of what SITO's doing.
Mm-hmm. Are you seeing more like kind of like remodels, or versus like handyman stuff, like making smaller adjustments for people?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
So,
Because some companies just like no, we don't do that. But like, I feel like the handyman work kind of like keeps the lights on, keeps the juices flowing, everything, gets your name out there,
and it's all business, right? So it comes back to as far as what's in the pipeline that keeps things moving. And for kind of the way we've got things set up right now, either one kind of works for us. So that's good and works. But
how many people do you have employed? Excuse me.
Right now, technically,
I gotta get used to doing this podcast thing. You gotta be more aware of what's going on with yourself.
Right now, technically, it's like they're not employees because it's not a regular employment basis.
Well, yeah, but I mean, how many people do you have like contracted out essentially?
It'd be me, Joe, and Bobby. So we gotta get Bobby in for the podcast, but time for vitamins.
Yeah, I gotta remember to shut that off. Perfect podcasting time.
Yeah, me, Bobby, and Joe right now. So there's three of us. Joe's the guy who's been doing a lot of the heavy lifting with me recently, but the three of us eventually we get into projects together usually when it's a little bit bigger and we need to kind of just rip on it. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Speaking of construction, don't you have a process for us that you kind of want to walk us through?
Yeah, real quick.
What a lot of people are doing?
Yeah, which real quick, have I told you about the doors and the prices and the stuff that we've been dealing with on that?
No.
Okay, because I think you might find this interesting. Back in it was summer of last year, it was a referral from some people that we had worked at their house when I was with the general contractor previously. He heard that I had moved on to a company working on windows and doors, so he called me up. He's like, hey, my neighbor across the street, he's looking to get a door installed, and he's gotten 2 quotes from people that are just astronomical. Can you come like help him out? Like, would you have a good price for him or something like that? So I was like, what kind of a door are we talking about? What kind of numbers is he talking about? Because sometimes it's $5,000 for pavers is the end of the world for some people, and for some people they're like, that's a small patch in my yard.
Yeah.
So found out from this guy that he had bought the door already. He had it like being delivered to his house. He needed someone just to tear the old one out, put the new one in. It's under a patio.
I could have done that.
By several feet. Dude, there was one speed bump that we ran into. There was also a couple things that we did with the trim to make it very nice and kind of put everything back together for them, because some companies will be like, hey, we'll tear it out, we'll put the door in, but you've got to trim it, you've got to do like so. It was paneling on the outside. Everything was super nice. It's under a patio by several feet, so you don't have to do a lot of the same intensive waterproofing processes because it's so far away with the code and everything. He was quoted just for tear out and install by one company. They are not providing the door. $4,800. The other company quoted him $6,000.
That sounds like they just didn't want to do it, so they purposely overquoted him.
Well, one of the there's a company here in town. It's Pella Windows and Doors. They are.
Are you allowed to say that?
I was gonna say good things about them.
Okay.
They do a lot of work for the stuff that Joe and I do for the or did at the window and door company that Joe still does for some of those larger houses. They're more in the luxury market, so it wouldn't surprise me if when they came out, they're like, it's one door. We're not even providing the product. So for us to hit our margin, we need to, it's such a large number. Also, there is such a thing as sometimes a go away price. And if you're willing to pay X amount of dollars, okay, I guess we'll show up.
Yeah.
So there's a good possibility that happened. I'm going to follow that up, though, with recently at my friend Alex's house. I think told you about how things went sideways there. He had a guy from Home Depot come out, and he's like, hey, I just want some doors installed. They're single exterior doors. Like, you go pick up the doors from Home Depot, nothing crazy. Not like the stuff that Joe's doing. And the dude was like, hey, based on some of the things with the room, I'm not even touching these. I'm not even going to do it. I'm not going to quote you anything. I'm not going to do it. Another guy came out to look at it, and he's like, yeah, looking at these 2 doors, tear out, replace. And I don't think he was going to re-stucco it or anything. He's like, we're looking at $11,000. And my buddy was like, you're kidding, right? He's like, no, no one in town's going to do it any cheaper. You'd be better off just doing it yourself if you're looking to do it cheaper than that. And they tried to give him like if you said, like, we'll do the job today, then we could do it for $9,500. I'm like, bro, no. Third story. So 2 of these are now within a month. A guy was told that he wants a slider done at his house. And they said like $5,000. This is the one that is a little more believable depending on the company. They've got some more overhead. They've got insurances they got to pay for. That one makes a little more sense, but based on the type of slider, it's like a 6 foot by 6 foot. It's not big.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, that's still quite a bit of money to be charging for that when you can tear it out and replace it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So we've been kind of cleaning up just based on
Just putting in single doors for people.
Yeah.
People get scared. It's not that difficult to put a door in if you go on YouTube. I think people just get scared of it. Because you have a giant hole in your house if you don't get it up.
Yeah, that, but also then too, like for exterior doors, it makes a little bit more sense. Yeah. You're thinking weather, moisture, all that stuff. Whereas like interior doors, the biggest thing you're worrying about is it going to look good?
Yeah.
So,
well, there you go. Start cleaning up, dude.
Dude, like I said, things have been booked out pretty good. And then there's more people asking for, like, hey, let me get your card and all that stuff.
I was about to say, you start doing little stuff like that for people. You just start little stuff, doing it for people, and then they're going to give you to other people that want bigger things done.
Yeah. There's a potential project I heard about last week that might be a little bigger too. And so it seems like we're trying to take those incremental steps, and I'm trying to stay ahead of it as far as...
Speaking of that, how far are you booked out? Because we might be within a month of getting my dad's area fixed up.
Then we should probably start talking.
Okay. Fair enough. Next week. Because I should have all the house stuff. My dad's house, all stuff, like...
Squared away?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right, do we want to talk about accent walls, or do we want to talk about...
Yeah, I want to find out this whole thing of people who love accent. I'm one of those people. I love accent walls.
All right, so a lot of this is going to come down to what you're looking for, right? So you can do quite a bit with trim, which would be like your door casing or your baseboard. You can find it at Home Depot. I did a herringbone style wall, which if you don't know what that is, it's kind of... how to describe this? It's a bunch of trim that is stacked on top of each other, running up a wall, or sometimes it's in tile on the floor, and it kind of looks like arrows that follows that pattern. You can look it up online and see it. Anyways.
Random question, kind of off subject. Do you build doors? Will you build a door yourself? If it has to be like a custom door?
I was just talking to Joe about that. I would actually love to do that.
Like an interior door?
You know what I'd love to do? Build a door that...
Because y'all might need you to build a barn door for me. Oh, secret passage door. I want one so bad, but I don't have anywhere to put it in my house.
What about under the stairs? I feel like that'd be a waste. But...
Yeah, we need it now.
Yeah.
I guess, could you turn that door into a bookshelf?
They have products that they sell like that. But I would love to do one that's like, you can't even tell.
Yeah, well, we have like 11, like 12, I don't know, 12-foot ceilings, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's got one of those archways too, like where my dad's area is. That's kind of got the thing, so it's almost like, obviously it's over like 10 feet.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's not a standard door.
No,
so you have to get a custom one. So I was just thinking about, I've looked at how to build, but it's a lot of work and precise.
Yeah. Which there's, the nice part is a lot of stores even supply barn doors that you can almost customize, and they'll send out just the sizes that you need. So we can definitely take care of whatever you're looking for.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. Back on the accent walls.
All right. Yeah. So basically, it's gonna depend a lot on the design that you're looking for, and then depending on the finish.
The design?
What do you mean?
Why do designs cost more if it's the same amount of wood?
Well, it depends, because like with a herringbone style, you're covering the entire wall in wood, whereas if you're doing more of like the board and batten, sometimes you're having a couple trim pieces that might run one length across the length of the room, which is going to be 16 feet. But if you're thinking about you need to have a 16-foot run stacked on top of each other all the way floor to ceiling, now you're just multiplying your costs.
Yeah, all those crazy zigzag ones, like all those cut lines that have to be perfect to make them.
Yeah,
like that seems
the one
very.
that we did at Scott's.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, or even if you see the ones that they're real small, like it's just like zigzag this way and then this way, like almost like abstract painting.
Oh, okay.
But there's so many like different angles and cut line, like that's hard.
Yep.
I get how that would be way more expensive.
Yeah. So then there's that, and then also depending on like some people are looking at wallpaper or stuff like that. So
is wallpaper easy to put up? I've had bad luck with it trying to do it myself.
I think it depends on the product sometimes.
So the better product, kind of like the easier it is. Because I feel like maybe the cheaper stuff, as you try to smooth it out, you cut a hole in it.
That's always a problem too. Yeah. Which some walls they recommend having like a completely smooth wall, like we've gotten here. There's no texture on these walls at all. So
if you have a textured wall, like would you just have to put a slim coat on it?
That's usually doing like a skim coat is going to be the way to go. And the nice part is it's like, hey, you just got to pull it flat. So it doesn't have to look like anything because it's all going to be hidden underneath the wallpaper. But, which one of the tricks I'd say for a lot of these things is going to be if you're doing an accent wall using trim, stud finder is going to be your best friend. If you're shooting shooting nails though in an area that doesn't have a stud right there, a little trick that we've got is going to be two things. One, you can put a little adhesive on the back of it. The second is going to be with your nail gun. You're going to shoot nails at opposite angles. So I'm going to shoot one with my nail gun pointing a little bit to the left and shoot the other with my nail gun pointing a little bit to the right. So basically I'm creating this V of nails poking through that drywall so that it creates tension. If someone were to kind of pull at it, it's not just going to want to pop straight back out like a typical nail
would.
would.
Have that huge gap.
Yep.
Now, what I did with my accent wall on the other the house that I did, we put a very thin piece of plywood. We kind
That's
of
a
just
good idea too.
we just glued it to the wall, and then that way because we did kind of like small and big boxes around it, so then we actually obviously we hit the studs obviously, but then also the ones that didn't have studs it caught.
Yeah.
But that plywood's, it seemed really easy in my head, but like because they bow and stuff, it was kind of a pain in the ass. I'm not gonna lie.
Which I think a lot of it is kind of with a little experience, it gets a lot easier.
Yeah, and I had to cut out. I mean, I felt like a badass when I did because I had to cut out the holes for the light switches and stuff.
Yep.
And then I had to bring out the boxes so it could actually. Because I don't like it when you have the things and it's like sunk into the.
Yeah.
I want it to be totally flush.
Yeah.
Now that took the longest time.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the detail work. So if you've got a lot of switches, if you got a lot of outlets, all kinds of stuff like that, that's going to add up pretty quickly. If you're going around a doorway, stuff like that. If you just have a flat wall that's like,
and
make it look good, then that's one thing.
One of the wall switches, this house had the electrical issues. That the main, the hot wire going into the box was maxed out into the thing. So there was one switch, which was like in the corner, so it wasn't like you had to walk over there to see it. So that one was sunken in. I hated it because my OCD was kicked in, but like I wasn't about to run more wire, shut it off, fucking twist it off, which was, I mean, it would have went with the house, and the box was full. There were so many wires going into this thing. Yeah. It was ridiculous. It was somebody who, like myself, decided to like rewire their house and just had a bunch of wires. Anyways, there's a lot of potential issues that could pop up with all that crap. Yeah.
Which, and I'd say more the big thing is like the price on it as far as, or even the amount of time that you're going to be spending if you're doing it yourself is just going to be, hey, take a look at the wall as far as what kind of fixtures do you have on the wall? What are you looking to put on the wall? Because all that detail work is going to add more time. If it's a flat wall, that's going to make your life a whole lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Is it expensive? I mean, obviously it depends. Well, if you already have a flat wall, so all you got to do is put up the design and paint it.
Like I said, though, it always
and you're doing kind of like the shiplap, but you're not doing shiplap. You're actually using baseboards and just stacking them on a 12 by 12 wall.
It always depends on the material that you're using.
Yeah, just PDF board, 3
MDF.
by 1s. Yeah, MDF. What'd I call it?
PDF board.
You knew what I meant though.
Yeah.
3-inch baseboards. I think I just bought some for. They were on sale though. It was like 8 feet for $3 or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It had a yellow tag on it, so
I was about to say
it was only like cheap. A certain like section. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to say usually if you're finding baseboard or door casing for about $1 a foot,
but that's even a lot. I mean, like you're looking at what, like a couple grand.
Materials wise,
because that project has a lot of materials.
Materials wise, like I did Scott's wall. His was 11 by 10.
There we go. Give me an example like that.
It had a doorway in it, but I think it was around $600 for the material, and that was I think that was my cost. So like if I'm bidding something out right now, I'm doing my cost and then a 25% markup.
Mm-hmm.
Because part of that is me sourcing the materials, picking it up, delivering it, stuff like that, but also being the one who's responsible for it.
Yeah,
so if something goes wrong, or I'm going and getting more.
Yeah, and all that stuff is not always straight either.
Yeah, usually it's pretty good. But
yeah, I had a couple that were not. It was very annoying.
Were they wood?
No, it was the my PDF board.
MDF? That's surprising because usually MDF board is pretty.
Yeah, but I bought like 12 footers and cut them up, and I don't know if that matters at all. But it wasn't. It was just slight, like somewhere on it there'd be like a 6-inch span where it was raised a little bit on the floor.
Oh, gotcha.
But then again, I guess it could have just been my floor.
Okay, that's
now that I say that. Yeah, now that I say that out loud. Yeah, I like how it could have just been the floor.
Which I don't want to just dominate the conversation with building process stuff, but if you're doing baseboard and you're most people are going to do it after the floor has been laid. If there is inconsistencies in the floor, one of the tricks is if you grab a longer pry bar, probably like 12 to 14 inches. If you notice a high spot, what you'll do is you'll put the pry bar on top of the baseboard, put your weight on it so it shoves it down, and then nail it into a stud to try and it'll help hold it down a lot better and get rid of a lot of that gap.
I hate gaps.
What happened with your house that we were talking about last week with the foundation issues?
Yeah, we canceled.
Yeah? Why? They're not willing to play ball?
Yeah. Essentially, they had the house listed, and then we put an offer. And knowing that they had a foundation issue, they already got it quoted. $45,000 to come out. And the seller... We got it for $20,000 cheaper. Knowing before we got the quote, I had to ask for all this shit. They didn't give it to me. I tried to call the company and they wouldn't give me the quote either. Like the seller, I had to ask the seller to give it to me. But anyway, so it was like we were kind of guessing, like we got it $20,000 cheaper, so like $380,000. And then during the inspection period, I'm getting all the quotes and stuff. It's $45,000, just the foundation, and not to mention 2 different foundation companies we had come out there. A landscaper and our inspector both said that the issue obviously was because the swelling, a lot of moisture swelling and expanding the rebar, which causes the concrete to crack and then obviously heave or whatever, is the moisture. The grading, everything flushes to the house. It's supposed to go to the house and away, but it just sits there and puddles. I mean, Jesus, on one side of the house, there is weeds coming out the side of the sidewall of the foundation. So everything in there, they don't have gutters on there, so when it rains, they have a pool too, and then their pool decking goes right to the back of the house. Nice. But everything flows, so the main issue is like you need to get it graded. Like it was pretty simple, just grade it on the outside on one side of the house, put the rain gutters in, and then put those over by the pool, put those little diverters, so then it goes towards where you have the what are those called again? Gutters,
Mm-hmm.
and they all flow out.
Yeah.
You know, so like the landscaping part was like 13 grand on top of it. The main issue, anyway, so it's like 13 grand, 45. So we were trying to figure out, we're like, we listed there was a tree, giant 30-foot tree that was coming out of the ground, and you could tell the roots were under there, which were also not helping with the foundation issues. But anyways, we have all this listed. Like the buyers, there was an extra 30 grand in repairs to get the drainage, everything worked out. So we were asking them, like, hey, you have the quote already, pay for, just get it done. Well, you don't have to get it done. We'll have it paid through the proceeds at close of escrow. We'll buy the house as is and have the company do it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he felt that the $20,000 price cut that we already gotten it was sufficient enough. Oh, we also did get $10,000 in credit but they needed it for a buy down. So he or she graciously said, you know what, we'll give you $5 extra grand in concessions. So 15 plus 20, that's still 30. You're still 10 grand short of what it's going to cost to fix your foundation issue.
And the other side of that is, that doesn't mean that, now you have 30 grand. It just means that the price of the house is
we can
reduced.
go, exactly. We can go the ins and outs of that, but just doing the math, like there's still 15 grand.
Right.
And not to mention, the main issue that caused this problem is still there and has to be fixed and addressed.
Yeah.
And every single person that my clients talk to, because they have some people in construction, like not in Arizona and stuff like that, and investors too, they said, don't touch that house with the 10-foot pole. But they were willing to go in. They liked the house and everything. So we had to cancel, which we knew going into it that it was a long shot.
Yeah.
But because, we couldn't go any higher. Like if the buyers had some more room, we could have upped the purchase price by 45 grand, but then asked them to, pay it through their proceeds kind of thing.
Right.
But they weren't approved for that much. So they're going to, I hope they sell it, obviously. I don't have no will. The agent was very nice. She was just doing what her client was telling her to do.
Right.
But it was just like no leeway at all. And it wasn't like there was nothing, like you have 45 grand of work, but you still want this price for the house kind of thing.
Right.
And a foundation issue that most people would just run away from. Nobody likes to deal with that.
Right. How long was it on the market?
That's the other thing, too. We got it early on the market. It was only on the market for 22 days. Which is also, and they were even hesitant to accept our 380 purchase, or like we knew it was going to cost money to get the foundation fixed. We were hoping it was just the wall part.
Yeah.
But that part was only going to cost about 10 grand, just to get the sidewalls, take out the rebar that was swollen and stuff. But the problem is that it got so deep, it created heaving in the front middle of the house, and then there started to be some cracks. So the quote that they got too said that they were sinking. So it was crazy shit that they can do. Like they're putting these giant ass rods on all four sides of the house to try to lift it up and stabilize it.
Uh-huh.
But guess what? If the soil keeps getting moisture and wet, it's just going to keep sinking.
Good luck to the sellers.
Yeah, I hope that. I'm curious. I got an eye on it. So it's to find out, when it closes, how much it does close for.
Yeah.
Yeah, or they're just going to find somebody that has the 40 grand out of pocket and just give them his purchase price and then pay for it themselves. But that's a risk for a buyer because you're assuming that that's going to fix the issue. Like we did a lot of work. Like I don't think most buyers are going to do that.
Yeah.
Go through the whole process on why. And that's what people don't like. You don't just want to fix the problem. You want to find out, especially with a foundation issue. Why is this happening?
Yeah.
Is it happening to other houses in the neighborhood? I even talked to a neighbor. Doesn't have any issues. So.
Which and right there.
And I learned a lot too. I enjoyed doing that actually.
Especially when it's not your house.
Oh yeah. I told him when we were, I was like, how much do you guys like this house? Like, is this something that you really want? Like, because we've been looking for over a year. Because they don't have them. Like they're in a rental. They're kind of okay, but they're very specific. They want to be a certain mileage between the kid's house and then dad's work kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So we'd have way more options. They'd already be in the house, but they're, willing. I mean, they're putting in a $400,000 investment, so they want something. So I'm like, make sure, like, don't buy this house because we finally got a house under contract. Because
Right.
we put offers in like about 3 or 4 different houses during the fucking craziness, but at that point in time, like they didn't have enough money to overbid people.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was a lot of work. That was a long 10 days.
I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
That would not be fun.
No.
All right, let's wrap it up for the evening.
All right.
Let us know where they can find you.
You can find me on the IG at MasonOxendale. Shoot me a DM. You can always email me too, mason.oxendale@gmail.com. Anything real estate related. But if you want to get to know me, hit that follow button.
And then we've got a day scheduled here this month that we're going to be trying to do some media. So it'll probably be mostly kind of pictures, short videos coming up. So, well, I've also got a couple ideas that we can run through in regards to some of your Instagram. So hopefully we'll be having some SITO content for you on the real estate side as well. So you can find what I'm doing at SITO_building. See what we're doing with our construction side. Mason's taking most of the front side in regards to what's going on with real estate. So anything real estate, I'd direct you to him. If you've got any stuff for us in construction, shoot us a DM, or it's tclaws, what is it, .sito@gmail.com. Gotta remember that.
Yeah, you should.
All right. Until next time, I hope your hammer stays accurate, your Wi-Fi fast, and your work blessed. See you, everybody.